All right, what's up with it? It's your boy Expat D. So I want to talk to you today about the direction of my channel, where I'm going to take it. And so I was really looking at kind of combining the things that, like all the things that I'm kind of into and really kind of make my channel kind of into that. And so it's not really necessarily just about travel. But I would say it's a combination of travel, food, and going through a kind of a fitness, fat loss, weight loss transformation. So currently, I am down about, I think, around 35 pounds. And, I was kind of debating, like, should I start making videos about this, once I'm at my idea weight? And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to wait. And that's because you kind of forget certain things, like as you're going through the process. And I'll kind of give this analogy. So I remember back when I had my son, right? And I remember I asked my dad, right? I said, "Hey, Dad, like, do you have any advice or tips or anything about having like a newborn, right?" And he told me, he said, "No, I don't really remember," right? And it's kind of funny because now I have a teenager, and if someone were to ask me about like a newborn, right? I don't really remember. You know what I mean? So the thing about it is, when you look at first, when you look at like fat loss and things like that, I noticed that it's good to there's a value in making videos while the phase that I'm currently in is raw. You know what I mean? It's current. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to lose more weight, and then I'm going to forget what it's like to be in a particular phase. So I'll kind of leave some takeaways, some things I went through. So one thing that I noticed, and one approach that I did this time that was different than prior attempts to lose a lot of weight or a lot of fat, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. I did not drop my calories at an extremely low level, right? So, for example, if you've seen some of the products that exist, like your Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, those type of products, what they'll do is they'll give you kind of a meal plan, and if you're a guy, man, they'll drop your calories down to like 1700, right? And so the problem is, you'll lose weight, but the issue is, with those low calories, you're gonna lose a lot of muscle, and your energy levels are gonna be really low. And the issue is this: typically, the mindset of a lot of people is they're kind of either on or off a particular diet or whatever approach they're trying to take. So, for example, a lot of times people ask when you're interested in, making a transformation, they'll say, "Oh, so what do you eat, or like how many calories are you taking in?" The hell if I know, right? That's most people's response. The hell if I know? I'm just eating, right? So, and that's the thing. Most people miscalculate how many calories that they're eating. They just eat, right? And so the thing is, just by tracking, you're going to have a lot of value in it. But the thing about it is, when a lot of people, underestimate how many calories you're taking in, and then they make a cut, I've seen a lot of people, they'll get on the internet and be like, "Yo, I lost so much weight. I'm like 280, 270, and I'm eating, like 1,800 calories or 1,700 or something like that," right? And so the problem with that is the body is going to make an adjustment. So you're going to lose weight, right? If you drop your calories. The issue is at a certain point, the body will adapt. And so the issue is when it adapts, now you have to make another change. So let's say if you just went off the bat and you drop your calories to like whatever, 1700 calories, right? Well, at some point, your body is going to get used to it, and it's going to adapt to that level of calories, and then now you're going to have to drop it to 1500, right? And then 12, and then and then lower and lower and lower. And so people are going to dig themselves into a hole of something that's not sustainable. Also, what that sets people up to do is, let's say, a lot of times when people treat a diet, it's not something that's sustainable. It's like, okay, this is just like something I'm just gonna get pumped up about, right? And then once I reach my level, then I'll figure it out, right? Then I'll figure it out. So the problem is, what typically happens is someone will drop their calories really low, they'll lose weight. Let's say they get to their ideal weight, or they just get frustrated and stop. But when they go back to normal, okay, they're increasing their calories to a level that, like, if their body got used to, let's say, that 1700 calories, right? Now, let's say their normal way of eating was more like 3000. So now, that, by just jumping up to 3000 like that, that's going to cause them to pack on, over time, or hell, maybe even 4000. They're not tracking their calories. And so that's going to cause them to gain a lot more weight, okay? And then a lot of times they end up gaining more weight than they originally started, okay? Because their body got adapted at a lower level, and they just, bam, now they're at a extreme surplus. So that kind of sets them up. So what I did this time is, when I made my initial cut, I started with 2800 calories. And you may look at that like, man, like, if you really look at 2800, that is a decent amount of food, right? And it was fun. I didn't feel like I was extremely restrictive. I did have, I made sure I hit 200 grams of protein. But the fact that I didn't drop like, I could have dropped it way more than that. But the thing is, I lost about the first 30 pounds or so at 2800 calories. Now, I did make a slight adjustment from that, but the fact that I started at 2800, this is really a better step in the right direction. I kind of look at it like, when you look at fat loss or weight loss or whatever, right? It's kind of like what you agree to, right? You could agree to drop your calories really low, right? And it'll work for a while. Or you'd be surprised, you could agree at a slightly lesser of a deficit and still get results. And the thing is, that's setting it up long term. One thing that I think people, particularly in America, they get really stuck on, like timetables, like, oh, I'm going to lose it all in 3 months or in 6 months or blah blah blah. And really, what's the point of doing that if you're trying to set yourself in something that's sustainable, right? So if this is your lifestyle, you want to set yourself up in a way that you can eat like this and be excited about eating the way you're going to eat for the rest of your life. So if you're doing something that's sustainable, then it's no problem. Maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but the thing is, when you go on these, extreme cuts and things like that, that's temporary. The problem is, diet fatigue is real. Like, I noticed that, let's say, if you go on a cut for, let's say, 3 months, your body does need a break. Your body will try to kind of fight the fact that you're losing so much weight, and you have to know how to kind of weather that storm. And I'll make another video on my experience with a diet break. All right, so yeah, so basically, guys, I'm Expat D, and so a little bit about me. I'm a traveler. Um, I've traveled to a lot of countries, right? I've traveled to, I think, over 30. And, right now I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm headed to the States, and then I'll be headed back out to the Middle East. And so, yeah, and so I'll also make videos about just, being on what I found challenging was someone that travels a lot is staying on a diet, right? Or trying to reach certain, macros. And that's something that I've gotten a lot better at. Anyway, I have all this stuff, videos coming like that. Thanks a lot for spending time with me, and welcome you guys to stay tuned on my journey. And I hope that this information could help somebody, and kind of help set them up, or maybe think twice, because I know in the beginning of a diet, people are they have a lot of momentum, and they're ready, right? They're ready, but it takes a while. It takes a while to get results. So if I could help, even with just that part of getting somebody set up with something that's more sustainable, and understanding that, man, in this phase, right? Because I'm someone that I plan on losing like 80 to 100 pounds. And so, in total. So in doing that, the beginning is, you can get away with a lot more stuff than you think in the beginning. And it could be a lot more fun than just, white knuckling it so much. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. I'm Expat D. Thanks a lot for spending time with me. Peace and I'm out.